Good morning. It's hump day. It's Wednesday in most places. Whoops, this wasn't supposed to be on the screen yet. Good morning, everybody. Not that it's bad because it wasn't porn or anything like that. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the boss man, Andre. We're flying solo today, it looks like, so far.
We are, at least for the time being. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the delay. But we already have 400 watching, so please smash that like and help everyone know that we are indeed live at last.
And please share out the link if you haven't already. That helps us here at the channel. I'm going to do that myself because I forgot to. But yes, Andre, we had some news yesterday that shook you to your core.
Yes, I was really shook yesterday, and I was like, I wanted to. If I had James Gunn in front of me, like I'm a fan of James Gunn as a general thing, but there was a certain item of news that dropped yesterday, and if James Gunn had been in the room with me while those news dropped, that
You
might
went
not have
full
gone down
berserker
too
on
well.
him?
Let's just put it that way.
You went full berserker on him? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. If it had been me and
In
a
Minecraft.
in the room with him, it would not have gone too well.
In Minecraft.
Yeah.
So what we're referring to, of course, is this sudden rush of news yesterday that seemed to get picked up by every major outlet, that coming, starting from people like Grace Randolph, that Constantine 2 was no longer being pushed forward at Warner Brothers.
Yes, and you will all recall that was a video that we reported several months ago, that Constantine 2 reuniting Keanu Reeves with a role that he really, really enjoyed. And he's been wanting to return to for several years, but everyone has always been saying no in the Warner end of things. Until this summer, then suddenly the lieutenants of David Zaslav said yes, because they needed something. But that was pre-James Gunn. And then James Gunn came in, and then we got the reports that Constantine was no longer happening. And then I freaked out. Well, I did not say I freaked out because I'm dead inside, but I was annoyed.
It's one of the most upset times I've ever seen you.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
asking around everybody, like, is this true?
Yeah. Like you saw me in like the various hidden groups that we were in, that we have with certain sources and stuff. It was like, this can't be right. Surely, this can't be right.
And at first, I'm like, okay, I didn't disbelieve the news at first, and I'll tell you why. Because I wouldn't be surprised if we get this kind of news for a lot of these projects. Because everybody's like, oh, the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman's still happening, and all these other things. It's like, yeah, I doubt that. So I was kind of getting the idea that, yeah, this possibly was one of those movies that was going to get the axe when they decided to go forward with this other stuff, especially considering it if it hadn't gotten that far in pre-production. Because I'll be honest with you, I think the only reason we're still hearing things about like the Ta-Nehisi Coates and Flash 2 and all these other things is the writers that are working on these scripts are still working on them. And they've been paid to work on them before all this stuff changed. So they still have to hear their pitch, right? As we keep hearing from James Gunn, is I got to still talk to this person, or I haven't talked to this person yet, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Those kind of things you generally say when you're not sure on it, or you know you're pretty much not going to do it. You just don't want to say that. Because if they knew they were going to do something, they would just flat out say it, right? In most cases, unless they're trying to be cryptic like James has with some of these things. But when it comes to the Elseworld stuff, they've been pretty straightforward with us. We know the Batman 2 is supposed to be coming October of 2025. What was the other one they mentioned at the thing? Joker 2, of course. Joker. They mentioned
those are the two Elseworlds things. Well, there's technically there's one Elseworlds, which is Joker 2, and then it is the Batman 2, which is not Elseworlds because it's part of the Matt Reeves universe. But then it was Constantine 2, which we were told from Mikey Sutton would be part of Elseworlds, just like Joker. And my interpretation of that, because James Gunn has said it's going to be really obvious that this is like a different thing. So I would speculate that they're going to make like a new logo, kind of like you have this rather shitty DC logo right now. I think that's going to be retired with the end of the last remnants of the post Snyderverse. Then we're going to get a new one for the Gunverse of DC, like a brand new DC thing. And then the Batverse is going to get its own thing. And Elseworlds is also, I think, going to get like its own really clear DC Elseworlds thing, would be my speculation. And both
I think they'll be
Joker
similar
2,
but different. Yeah.
Yeah. Both the Joker 2 and Constantine 2 would then presumably be getting that to distinguish them from James Gunn's mainline DC stuff.
Your face is on your shirt.
Correct.
Good morning, Mr. Chato. How are you?
Good morning. Nice. Sorry, I'm late. I was working.
Nah, you're
fashionably late, so I believe the term is.
We were just chit-chatting about Constantine anyway.
Yeah, that's too bad. Well, it's gone, eh?
No, actually, that's not the case. It seems that was what
we're
leading
about
up
to get
to
that. We were basically going through the news cycle yesterday, and we were in the part of looks to be dead. Thanks for the spoiler, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, like you were asking around, like you said, and funnily enough, Andre, I asked around too. I hadn't heard much yet of anything on it other than like news to us kind of thing was when I asked about it. But from what the reports are coming out, I guess if there's any reality to this, I think the reports come from a place of one of two places, and we'll get to that in a moment. But let's first just bring this up because it didn't take long after the news started spreading like wildfire that it supposedly was canceled. Did Entertainment Weekly get a hold of Warner Brothers themselves and just flat out ask them? And Warner Brothers said no. There's no truth to that whatsoever. Constantine 2 is still happening. So that's kind of nice that they were pretty straightforward about it. Right here it says a spokesperson for Warner Brothers confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that Constantine 2 is not scrapped.
That's
Internet
easy
chatter
for you to
going
say.
around social media suggesting it has been. I know it isn't.
That would be great that it's not canceled.
Well, we speculated last night on where some of the places this kind of news may have come from. First of all, like Script Doctor and I both kind of thought maybe it was because let's put it to you this way: Keanu Reeves is a very busy man. All you got to do is go look at his IMDb to see he's going to be busy for the next couple of years. So I think that maybe there was a bit of a conflict of schedule, so that led some people to believe that this project may be dead. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. Because let's be real, the only reason we're getting a Constantine 2 is because basically Keanu Reeves walked in the room and said, "I want to do Constantine 2." And that's why this is happening.
Why it happened. There was no push from Warner to actually make it happen. The one pushing for it, and who, as I said to begin with, has been pushing for this for years, is Keanu Reeves himself. He's the driving force.
I posited last night, Andre, that maybe, just maybe, he tucked this into his Matrix deal. Is one thing I was wondering. If maybe he's like, I'll do the Matrix 4, but I get to do Constantine 2. And that's something that happens sometimes in Hollywood. And that might be why they weren't too quick to say, no, this ain't dead yet until the man who started this says it's dead, is I think the situation. I could be wrong on that. And there's another place where these rumors could be coming from. It could just be misinterpretation, or it could be the J.J. Abrams camp. So I don't know what you think about that, Andre, but I'm curious what Paul thinks of this as well. But those are the two scenarios at least I could come up with in my head.
I don't think it's the J.J. Abrams camp.
Yeah, I think that's less likely too.
Rule that out right away, or like obviously I can't say that it isn't. But here's the thing: J.J. Abrams, he had his own Constantine project, namely the subversive Constantine, in which he's black, and they had attached Sope Derisu to star as Black Constantine. And that project was scrapped. But obviously, Bad Robot, they had to be bought out, or they had contractually locked themselves in with Constantine one way or the other. Probably they had the same kind of standard deal that anything we do, no one else can touch. And because of that, they have to be involved in some capacity.
And didn't you say that this deal also impeded them from using regular Constantine in that Sandman?
Yes, exactly.
series?
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. The Constantine was placed in a moratorium across the road or across the board because of the J.J. Abrams movie. I mean, you had like Constantine and Legends of Tomorrow or whatever the hell that thing is called, right? Well, suddenly, Constantine was written out of the series, but they didn't fire the actor. The actor they awkwardly recast in another role mid-season. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but they did that, and that was because of J.J. Abrams. So anyway, he had his hold on the series, and because of that, he has to get paid and he has to get credit, but he has no further involvement with that. So with this Constantine Part 2, with
Constantine, I like that. Sorry.
J.J. Abrams is listed as executive producer and Bad Robot as co-production company, but that's a marquee credit only. None of them have any creative input whatsoever. Only that their name has to be there and they get paid. So I don't think that they have anything to do with what happens.
No, probably not.
One way or the other. So why the news came out, that's pure, or like why reports came out that it was cancelled, that's pure speculation in my end, so I'm not going to go into that. But I'm grateful for the clarification, and to me it would make very little sense not to do this, because what I have heard is that James Gunn, he has plans for Justice League Dark himself eventually down the line. But surely, if Warner decides that Keanu Reeves is a hotshot and he wants to do Constantine 2, and they have the Elseworlds thing going, then what's the harm? I don't see why they would let James Gunn cancel it.
Yeah, the only other reason I saw that there may be a conflict of this is I brought up like the possible 2.0 or 2.B scenario, or whatever you want to call it, so I wouldn't give it its own thing, is basically that there's the conflict of interest, but then add into that Keanu can't get to it until a little while after things are already going to be rolling in the other DCU. And I'm not so convinced that things aren't going to get completely steamrolled and rebooted as much as people don't think they are. Because if you look at the way things are set up, the only Elseworld thing that comes out after Superman Legacy is the Batman. And I'm not even 100% sure that's going to come to theaters yet. But they said it is. So, okay. But because even Script isn't convinced of that yet.
Well, you just have to look back at DC movies that have been announced. We were supposed to have had so many DC movies in theaters that never happened. I mean, announcements come cheap.
That's what I'm saying. And somebody brought up Joker 2. Joker 2 comes out like a year before Superman. Yeah, that's way before the rest of the stuff. But the last movie, as far as the old vestige, let's say, or whatever you want to call it, is the Batman, and that technically comes after Superman, but everything else comes before the Superman movies. So as far as the Black Superman being canceled, as Tendo Kiro asks here, it's Schrodinger's Superman right now, let's say. As far as everybody knows, it's canceled, but we're not 100% sure until we look in the box. Like
we heard that it had been canceled.
Yeah, pretty much all of other JJ's projects are dead for some reason. This is the only one that's... And again, going back to what I said originally, the only reason I think this is still technically being talked about is I think the writer still hasn't turned in his treatment is why. I could be wrong, but that's the case. If I'm hearing things correctly.
Yeah, he has to turn in his treatment, and then they can formally reject it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would not put money on that project happening. Like, can we conclusively rule it out? No, but I would not put money on it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I wouldn't either, and that's why I call it Schrodinger's Superman.
Yeah.
Because it could still happen in this Elseworlds, because you got to look at it this way, too. They might not cancel it just because of reasons,
reasons. Like, they would look awfully virtuous for those who care about that kind of thing by doing
exactly
an ultra political, and that it would be.
You have your little Elseworlds Superman, and then you'd be fine with it. But yeah, so Paul, were you ever a fan of the original Constantine, the Keanu Constantine, or do you have anything to add to the Constantine discussion? Did he step away and I missed it? I don't know if he realizes he's muted. Oh, I think he's away. So,
okay. Yeah.
With that, we'll just leave Constantine there, and if he
Oh,
wants
I
to
was
comment.
desperately trying to find the goddamn window, and I couldn't find it. I got too many goddamn windows open.
Yeah. There you go. That's a risk.
I was a fan of the TV show too on NBC. I thought that was more loyal to the comics with the Brit, but I really enjoyed the Keanu one, partly because of the supporting cast.
Okay.
Tilda Swinton, the woman who played the police.
Who was it who played Lucifer in that? I can't remember now.
He was the guy, the wood chipper guy from Fargo.
Yeah. I was trying to think of his name. Yeah.
It was just so. It was good. In many ways, I'd like to see Keanu do it now because I think he would fit better. He was a little bit, I thought, an odd duck, a little not out of his depth, but he actually, ironically, I thought he clicked the least in that movie, but I liked his take on it. I thought the story was well written. It was fun, and yeah, anything to keep it away from J.J. Abrams, I'm happy about.
Yeah, so am I, because I enjoy it as an alternate take. It's like L.A. Constantine.
Yeah,
it's not the Constantine of the comics. The TV series is closer, as in less far away from that. Like, what bugs me the most about the movie is that it's called Constantine, when in every way it's actually closer to Clive Barker's Harry d'Amour,
which I'm not familiar with.
Well, for instance, the tattoos that he has, that when he puts them together, then all supernatural things are exposed. Constantine has no such thing in the comics. Harry d'Amour does. They took that from him. Harry d'Amour is Clive Barker's paranormal investigator. He's basically he's basically Clive Barker's Constantine.
I've never heard of it.
So check out the movie Lord of Illusions with Scott Bakula. That's Harry d'Amour. And watching the movie Constantine, like, I enjoy it, but it's tonally closer to Clive Barker's Harry d'Amour than it is to DC's Constantine. But be that as it may, it's a fine movie anyway. Yeah, I welcome a sequel, and I especially welcome a sequel compared to anything that J.J. Abrams has going. So yeah,
all right.
Here's hoping that's still in
a weird, perverted way. I'm now waiting to see the next J.J. Abrams thing.
I'm sure JJ's curious what that's going to be. That was announced the other day.
Oh, that Stephen King thing,
yeah.
Well, he's still supposed to be trying to work on that other project, but I don't know. What is it called? Demamandi or whatever.
Is that? I think that they canceled that, didn't they?
They did, but I think he's still trying to push it. Like, he's still trying to push the Batman somewhere too, because they did give him permission to take that elsewhere. And I heard a rumor that he's even trying to get another season of Westworld done. That might have been the reason why it was pulled down from HBO.
Maybe.
I can't confirm that, though. I'm just saying that's, yeah. But basically, like, I think Tickle Trunk's right. The only people that'll have him right now is Apple TV. So, yeah. But we did get some super chats that, for some reason, StreamYard is not letting us access. So I can't bring them up on screen here.
That is weird.
But I do have them in the background via 6. So thank you, 6. You can bring them up? Yeah. No, that's not the first one we got.
Well,
something's wrong with StreamYards.
Okay.
That's what 6 is trying to say in the background here.
Do this one then, and I shall see if I can't.
I've got the other 2 here already, is what I was saying, but yeah.
Yeah.
We had one from Philip M, and we had one from Hyper Guyver before the show started.
Yeah. But let's do Psychotics ones first.
All right.
So we have that on screen.
Marvel's misstep is that they know Kang as a dopey fool, and now we need to take him seriously. Maybe if the actor had an ounce of gravitas. Yeah, Kang is not really the guy I really am looking forward to being the big baddie of this next phase. What about you guys?
I don't know the character.
He's in Loki.
Or at least a version of him is in Loki.
You mean in the TV series?
Yes.
Yeah, and which I didn't see either.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a lousy pop culture aficionado. I'm sorry.
Well, you did not miss out on too much. I think we
That's
can
what I heard.
say that. But yeah, no, like he was kind of like a clown in that series, and we'll just have to wait and see how he is here, if he's more serious here. I mean, the early reviews for his performance have been through the roof, but of course they're early reviews; they can't be trusted in any way, shape, or form, as we're about to get into here.
Yeah. And then we had Dearest, who sent us in a super sticker, and it is a, let's see here, it is a thumbs up. Thank you so much. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please do. And so did Dr. Longdungler, also a thumbs up. But yeah, so the two that we missed ahead of time, Hypergiver
behind the scene
had a question for Culture, who's not here yet, and I don't know if he's going to be here because we never know with Culture. He had a question for Culture. What does God need with a starship? Shakari! That's what we sent. And then we had Philip M., who said, good morning, Andre, Tom, Culture, Chato, and panel. Sadie, that's enough. Concerning BlackRock and Vanguard, I'm not convinced they're woke, but just another company doing PR while making money. Please, do you have more information to back up your claims?
Yeah, well, Philip, first, thank you for the $30. That's a sizable super chat, and we thank you for that. Really helps keeping the lights on. As for the question, that BlackRock and Vanguard, if they're woke, no, BlackRock and Vanguard, they are not woke at all. They preach one thing and they practice another. What they do is that they push ESG. That's what their business of. That's what they push. And the S in ESG, that equals DEI, which is then part of ESG. As to why they are doing it, that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole that I would rather not get into at YouTube. I would suggest you go to Rumble. We'll be on Rumble soon. Maybe we can pick up that conversation there. Let's just say that financially it's very beneficial for them. It's not necessarily so beneficial for anyone else. So yeah, I don't know how to express it any closer because of the restrictions on this platform. But I'll just say that it's not about wokeness, not for them. They have a motive with it, but it's not because of any kind of virtue. Quite the contrary.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to have an all-out Rumble session with like Valiant.
We may have to have a Rumble
Culture
session, but like this is like a topic that I can't.
Yeah, so we can really get into some of that stuff.
I mean, like,
actually,
yeah.
To be honest with you, Andre, we've been trying to figure out a time where we can get you to get up early so you can hop into like one of the Thursday night shows over on Comics, because that's what we do. Is we start the show on YouTube, then we jump over to Rumble when we talk about the more stuff we can't talk about on YouTube, basically. So I think you'd enjoy that show one of these days, but it's a little early for you.
Yeah, what I do enjoy is that now we have gotten to the point where we can actually say the name Blackguard and Vanguard. There was a point when we couldn't even do that. Like, for instance, when we if you go back to our earlier videos on Star Trek Discovery and on Star Wars, like, many have been like asking, why do they do this? It's not making any money. And I've been like making references to well, there's investors who are pushing for this particular thing, and they are not interested in a direct return on this particular investment, because their investment in entertainment is not about making money. It's about spreading a message, because that benefits them in some other kind of way. Well, these are the companies I've always been referring to, these and others like them.
Well, ESG is just the social equivalent of carbon taxes.
It's a little bit more than that. It's the corporate equivalent of the Chinese social credit system.
Yeah, I'm just being more sarcastic.
Yeah.
You're being
you can say that it's that too, because
sometimes
like
Andre doesn't understand sarcasm.
Useless.
Sorry.
And pure symbol policy, but yeah,
you have to start over, Andre.
Corporations love free cash. Like, okay, if we move our headquarters to Ireland, then XYZ happens, and we just keep more of our money. And then, oh damn, the regulations have changed, and now we got to do something differently. So it's part of the problem with the ESG stuff is it's just money to be picked up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if they abide by it, for some, not for everyone. If you're like a small to medium-sized company, ain't nothing in it for you.
No,
by
nothing.
Incorporating ESG.
Nothing.
If you are a huge corporation, or if you influence culture, like for instance, say you make something like Star Trek Discovery, well then suddenly you might get an offer like, if you have a storyline like this, or you have a character like that, or you have a subtext like this, then we'll give you $100 million. No questions asked. It's like, you can do with it as you please, as long as you have this subtext in it. That's really, really important. Here are some stipulations of what needs to kind of happen on screen, like which character can be ridiculed, which can be killed off, which must be heroic. If you abide by that, we're going to give you $100 million. And that's kind of like how it works.
I think what's funny with all this woke nonsense is I understand the notion of having more heroic diversity opportunities. What I don't understand is why they also need to kill off the alpha male, that somehow the alpha male is bad. I was just watching some
I could answer that, but let's do it on Rumble at one time.
I mean,
there is an answer to it.
Okay,
but I don't want to give it on.
Okay, YouTube. So and I'm just going to throw it out there to the audience. I don't understand. I mean, I was watching Broderick Crawford today on Highway Patrol, and he was it's an old show, one which had Clint Eastwood in it, but he was a guy's guy. Went in, did his thing, left. That was fine. There was no big whoop. No one had to emasculate him in the process of him being a policeman. But I just don't understand this need to emasculate men. Have a strong female. Have a strong male character. I don't understand why they can't. Are they oil and water?
Well, I'm just going to say that there's a reason why this is something that you don't see it happen so much in like mid-level productions or low-budget productions. It's exclusively in the most influential,
correct,
the one with the most cultural reach and stuff like that. And that is where this kind of funding is made available, where you basically like, here's $100 million. All you have to do is do this. And that would be one of the things.
I just find it so interesting. I mean, I've written scripts that had gay characters in it that I thought were naturally part of the story, but that didn't mean I didn't make one of the main straight guys very adventurous and confident in what he was doing, and no one had to put him down all the time. So anyways, yes, to me, it's a mystery.
Yeah. But it's becoming more and more prevalent now. I'm sure you've registered that mystery. It may be, but when you
prevalent is the right word, and I don't understand it. Maybe they feel it's a hoary cliche to have that strong guy who solves problems with his fists. I
Well,
mean, it
if
was
anything, the strong, independent, or like what's the term, like the stunning and brave woman, if anything, is getting a cliche at this point.
true.
I watched a movie the other day that they could not make now. And I know we say that all the time, but I mean seriously, this movie I can't believe it hasn't made it onto the woke radar yet. And it's probably because they never saw it. But High Plains Drifter. You guys know what I'm talking about with Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. There's no way they could get away with making that movie now. Like,
Oh, there's so many movies.
Have you ever seen it, Andre?
I have not.
Okay, the basic story though is pretty much this guy roams into town and they want to pay him to get rid of their protection because they have gotten out of hand. And not to spoil the movie, but this town is not innocent, and this guy is here to basically make the town pay for what they did to somebody. But the people that would, but the people that would see it now would be like, well, that's fine. He's the bad guy. They shouldn't be doing they would totally not understand this whole movie when it boils down to it. And I don't want to give too much away because it has like an M. Night Shyamalan kind of twist to it. But it's a very good film. But like, he comes into town like a fucking storm. And not only that, he ends up graping one woman. Like, other thing, like, there's no way it can be made now. I mean, I say that in kind of like, the way it happens is not exactly
I thought
that, but like
Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was refreshing in that when it came time for him to put up his fists, it was fast, vicious, and hard. There was no buffer period. When he needed to do it, especially with the dog when the house got attacked, and when he wanted to beat up that hippie in the compound, he just did it, and it was brutal and fast. And I went, wow, I'm not seeing that in too many movies. Not that you want to support male violence. That's not what I'm talking about. But
no, but that was what I was saying is like there's a whole reason for it behind it. Like that was the point. Like, yeah, but they wouldn't see that reason as a reason for it to be the way it was, right?
But
like
Marvel would never allow something like that. I mean,
which is why I'm worried about what they're going to do with the Punisher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But speaking of Marvel, let's get through some more of these super chats so we can get to the discussion of Ant-Man, because that does not seem to be voting as well as some people were hoping.
Yeah, that's the rumor. Had there been reviews coming out yet?
There's reactions, we got to call them.
But reactions, and we'll get into those. Let's do a few of these super chats, and we'll get into a detailed breakdown of the reactions and how much we should trust them.
Shum has been a member for 22 months and says, I was told there was an Elf and Fonty emojis available for use. How else are we to show our appreciation of Mexican Iron Man with the press of a button?
We'll have to do that. That's coming.
I have them up on Mead. I think Culture sent them off to you, Andre. So yeah, you got to add those to the.
Okay, yeah, we'll just add those. That's coming. I promise.
So hopefully within the next day or two, you'll have those up for at least the next stream. Hopefully, Shum. Then we got Moonrock here, who says the moment Kevin Feige got full control of Marvel and dispatched the last of his detractors, it was like the MCU got stabbed in the stomach, and since then, they've been slowly bleeding out. This is a good point, Moonrock, and we were talking about this just last week about how everything went down between the origin of Marvel Studios to the ousting of Ike Perlmutter to basically where we got to where we're at today. And I agree with you on this. This is pretty much a good assessment of the situation. When you think, Andre?
I think so. Because basically what Kevin Feige did is that he got rid of the people who annoyed him. But the people who annoyed him were the same people that kept him in check and made sure he didn't make any too bad creative decisions. Without them, we'll just look at the current state of the MCU right now.
Pretty much. And then we've got Waltman who said, would you be playing Hogwarts Legacy? No, not me personally. I'm not a very good video gamer, and I'm not into Harry Potter, so I personally wouldn't. But Paul, is this something you've been thinking about checking out?
I played several Harry Potter style virtual-ish games with my daughter. It's not my my Steam, I'm more of a Skyrim RPG kind of person. But I might buy it just to stick it to the woke. It looks interesting. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the movies. I've watched them many, many times. I haven't decided yet. It's also an issue where I'm on a Mac. I don't think I do have is it PlayStation 5 only? PlayStation.
I think it's on Steam and all those other things. I don't know.
I know it's on
system.
Steam. Yeah, because I saw like trending on Twitter that people couldn't load it on Steam fast enough. Like the servers kind of like gave in or something. As for me, I may buy it for the imaginary PlayStation 5 just to support it and stick it to the authoritarians that want to censor and cancel anyone who plays it. Now, I don't actually have a PlayStation 5, which is why I called it the imaginary one. So it would be my first PlayStation 5 game.
I'm going to do a search. A Hogwarts Legacy PlayStation 4. Hogwarts Legacy PPS.
They're saying it's on all the platforms in the.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
but the PS 5, something is getting released later.
On PC, yeah. Okay, so
PS5 for now, PS4 later. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just may go get me a PlayStation 5 game then, even though I don't actually have the console.
I just find it ironic that the people that are freaking out about it. Remember, we reported the other day, Andre, that there is a trans character in the game. Well, guess what their response to that was? It was just pandering or something like that, basically.
There is no winning. There is no winning when you start getting on that side of. I mean, J.K. Rowling is a perfect example where she was the quintessential friend to the Rainbow Coalition, and Dumbledore, she said, turned out to be gay. Everyone was really happy until she just said, biological men are men and biological women are women.
Don't repeat it because we'll be taken down. Even if we don't necessarily disagree with it, we can't say it.
Sorry, I apologize. And just merely saying that just brought the wrath of the entire brown shirt. I call them the brown shirts now. And
well, you're not alone. We've used that one before.
Very fitting title. They actually are the modern day brown shirts.
They are the modern day brown shirts. It hit me. I went, wait a second.
We've been using that before. Yeah, it's
and what's ironic right now is that I have heard from friends that a whole bunch of people on Twitch who make their living off of Twitch, the way some of us get our lucre from YouTube, they can't play the game because they supported the boycott, and they're philosophically and practically because they don't want to be ganged up on by the very people that they supported against J.K. Rowling. They are missing out on thousands of dollars worth of Twitch streaming.
I have no sympathy with them. I mean, they chose.
Yes, I completely agree
to
Isn't that funny?
With.
Isn't that funny?
What's even funnier about it is these people are going to places that are streaming it and harassing them. And I think it's hilarious. It's like, you don't realize you're just helping these streamers, right?
Not only that, I saw that I saw on Twitter that someone were even making lists of Twitch streamers that actually
there was a list, but I guess it got pulled down. Yeah.
But still, it was like a list so that you would know which ones to boycott. Again,
and as I said, it was kind of counterproductive because all you're doing is sending a crowd to these people who probably normally wouldn't have a crowd that size.
But you know what? I twitched back to the person who set up that. Not twitched. I tweeted back. I said, "You fucker! My parents were on a list."
Yeah.
That's another thing I said last night too. What? Specifically, yeah.
This list thing is horrible.
That's what I said. There was another group of people who made lists, if you recall.
Yeah. I mean, it's and not only during the great list maker was Nixon, and so was Stalin. I mean, these.
Oh, let's not forget about Stasi in Eastern Europe. Even
Yes.
after your family went to the States, like you still had not the direct descendants of the ideology, but let's say the cousins, the descendants of the cousins of the ideology. They were still making lists.
And so these people just don't understand history, which is why I'm happy to call them brown shirts.
And they are the ones claiming to be on the right side of it.
Correct. That's
actually Bill Maher had a similar thing to this last weekend on his real-time show. I mean, he's from once in a while had a pretty good take on. I mean, he talks out of both sides of his mouth. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to this stuff, he's had a pretty good take lately on trying to get the left to realize how batshit crazy they really are. And he got onto this specific stuff this weekend about the militantness of the way they're acting. And he may have even used the brown shirt comparison, if I remember. I sent you that. Didn't I send you that, Andre?
You did send me. I do not recall him using the term brown.
I can't remember if he did or not, but yeah.
He started using more and more comparisons, but it only goes to show that tweet that Gina Carano got fired for, or not renewed, so however you want to pedantic you want to be, was completely accurate. Because what she tweeted was basically, it didn't start with, like the showers and the chambers. No, it started with the report.
With your neighbor turning you in, and yeah,
that's where it started. And then it escalated from there. That's kind of like where what we're seeing right now on Twitch. Different scale, obviously, completely,
we saw it recently.
Different, but you still have some of that mindset.
We've seen similar actions by this, let's say parties in the same groups who have done the similar things where they've wanted lists in recent past, if you'll remember. Lists of donators, lists of this, lists of that, where, things have gotten a little out of hand, if you ask me on that part. But I don't want to get too deep into the political side of this. But it's this Twitch thing. I found that kind of disturbing too. When I was told about it, I was glad that it was pulled down fairly quickly from what I heard. But at the same time, it made me laugh because, like I said, it's kind of counterproductive.
Regret that Midnight Sedge doesn't have a Twitch channel so that we could be streaming that game.
I think Mead does, but it didn't really ever work out too well. Twitch was too wonky. But Rumble might be one of our better choices, but we'll get into that in another discussion.
Rumble is coming.
Twitch is a crazy place too. I mean, you got all the thoughts that are there. I mean, it's a wild west of
you still have like that editor that identifies as a deer.
That I don't know. I'm not a big Twitch person.
We sadly lost them in a hunting accident last year. But they made a great supper, I heard.
I just hope this will karate self-immolate, and under their own weight of ridiculousness. I mean, I was talking to somebody who was a diversity, inclusivity, equity person, and I said, okay, so are you bringing in right of center employees to balance out the left you've been bringing in? And they thought that was a horrendous idea. So then where's the diversity? There's so many ways to cut diversity. It's not just race, it's thought. And I'm not a right of center person, but I mean, on some issues I am, but how do you have to have a variety of opinions in a large organization to make that organization work. You can't, it just can't come from one side of the political spectrum if you're trying to run a good organization.
Yeah, and I agree, Andre. We do not have enough black lesbian representation around here.
No, but actually, that's one thing that I do value though with Midnight Sedge, that we try to find people that don't say the same thing that we do, but rather that complement the voices that we already have, because we want that diversity of opinion.
But it's fun. But it's like having Nina on is great.
Oh yeah, and sometimes you'll run the risk of some people just not being able to jive with you because they're not willing to debate, right? And I'm not trying to throw anybody specifically under the bus or anything like that, but it's just a matter of it only goes one way for some people, and I'm just saying this because this is the way it is for these people that are making these said lists and other things we're talking about. These Hogwarts people that are going after the game. It's like it's either my way or the highway, and it doesn't matter if they get proved wrong. Like the whole thing of like I said, oh, I can't wait to hear the rees when they figure out that there's a transgender character in the game. And then of course to them it's, oh, that was just pandering. They did that on purpose and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, like you said, you can never win with these folks.
You cannot win.
Never win. And that's why you should not apologize and never give in into any of their bullshit anymore. It's kind of late that we have given into the crazies, but hey, we got to just keep going forward. So yeah, we just gotta just tell them to fuck off and just do what you do. And if you want to play the game, play the game. Don't let anybody influence you. Like, there's nothing that says that you're a bad person for playing that game. Just them. And who the fuck are they?
Yeah, and on Twitch, not Twitch, but on Steam, you can prevent other people from seeing whether you're playing the game or not by just flipping it over to family only.
Is that like a subscription-based thing?
Well, no, it's not your it's who can see that you're online. You can flip it over to just family. And then other people, because sometimes you want other people when you're playing, Call of Duty or something like that. Yeah. And you want other people to find you. But if you just don't want that to happen, it's not that difficult to do.
And I can see that especially for like kids streaming and stuff like that. Yeah.
And the thing is, what's funny is that this isn't an argument game with your parents. Like, when my son wanted Call of Duty when he was under age for playing it, we had some arguments. Oh, I can do it. I can handle it. Nope, you're not getting it. And here we've got a game that all ages can play, but it's not good enough for a certain segment of society, micro segment, super ultra micro segment, that too many people are listening to.
Yeah. Interesting times to say it the least. So let's move on with some of these super chats rather than.
Let's see here. We've got the God King Dictator of South Africa sends in 35 South African rands and says, "Notice the trades are still saying J.J. Abrams' Superman isn't gone. When will it start being said publicly?" I don't think they ever will. That's the point. That's the only reason. One of the only reasons I still think they're still saying anything about it is because if they get seen to in a certain way of canceling it outright, then they'll be canceled themselves. But if they just keep pushing it to the back burner, then
yeah, it will never. There will, because here's like the thing. Whenever like a movie is announced, notice that a ton of movies are announced. Not all of them ever make it to the big screen. Not all of the things that are announced ever end up happening. Like, for instance, how many He-Man movies have been announced the past decade? Where are they? Was there ever a new announcement saying this is now canceled? No, that doesn't happen. It just slowly sinks and fades into oblivion. And that's exactly what's going to happen to JJ's Superman project as well. We have heard for some time that for all intents and purposes, it is gone. And the only way that it is coming back is if James Gunn, for some reason, decides, I want to see that happen. I want that to be an Elseworlds thing. Unless James Gunn actively makes that decision, JJ Superman ain't happening. Simple as that. Now, there will never be an announcement that it's not coming. What's going to happen instead is that you'll hear all of these other things that they want you to be excited about. Look at this frame, look at this cast, look at this trailer, look at whatever. And then let's never talk about J.J. Abrams' Superman ever again. That's how it's going to be, just sink into oblivion. Just like all of the other movies you've all forgotten that were announced, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, Cyborg's coming out this year, isn't it?
Which one?
Cyborg.
Oh yes, no, Cyborg. That came out.
Or last
4
year.
years ago. Don't you remember? And don't
Something
you
like that.
remember The Flash? That was a great movie that came in 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's
We should be on
let's not
third
forget
film
about,
by now.
let's not forget about the Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2. That was the best movie of 2021, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Star Trek 4 is my other favorite.
Oh yeah, Star Trek 4. That was the best movie of, again, 2018.
All 10 versions of them.
Exactly. And again,
So,
yeah, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That movie was amazing in 2010, and then it was amazing again in 2013, but that pales compared to the 2016 version, to say nothing of the 2019 version, lest we forget the 2021
Oh,
version. No.
we totally forgot about King Conan, Andre.
Oh, absolutely. That
How can
was
we
the
forget about
highlight
that?
of 2016.
How could we have ever forgotten that?
How
We wouldn't
could
have
we
Midnight's
forget?
Edge if it wasn't for that.
The Legend of Conan, based on a story by David Gemmell, came out in 2000.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. So yeah,
After
no.
he's done being Combinator.
J.J. Abrams' Superman is gonna go the same way as all of those. It's just gonna sink into oblivion and never be spoken about again, because the entertainment media complex will very helpfully not ask about it and just focus on the most recent news.
Of course, my favorite of all of these, Tarantino Trek.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a great one.
That was great.
I
I
mean,
never
that came
thought
out last
Spock
year,
would
didn't
say.
it?
I never thought I'd hear Spock say motherfucker so many times in my life.
Yeah.
Midnight Sun says, hello, everyone. Are you excited about the potential Escape from New York reboot from director trio behind the last Scream movie? Fuck no. Like, this is one of the dumbest things I'd ever heard in my life. And I know I'm not meaning that towards you, Midnight Sun, but I remember hearing about this because, first of all, I hated that last Scream movie. Hated it with a passion. And I didn't listen to, but read one of the interviews with the guys who directed it. And they are some pompous, pretentious, woke bastards. And they are going to ruin Escape from New York. It's probably going to be the daughter of Snake Plissken. You watch. Or they're just going to completely remake it with Snake as a chick or some stupid shit like that.
Sounds more plausible, because because if they didn't remake it, that would validate the two earlier movies.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're a fan, Paul, of Escape from New York, but I'm a pretty big fan, and that's the last thing we need is a remake.
Yeah, I don't know any Scream. I've never watched a Scream movie, but Escape from New York.
Let me put it to you this way with the last Scream movie. The movie basically said that the fans only give a shit about the first movie, and it's the fans' fault we can't ever get anything new. And the fans are toxic, is what the movie boiled down to. And I've gotten into knockdown, drag-out fights about that fucking movie. But anyway, Escape from New York, yeah, go ahead. So these guys are very unqualified, if you ask me.
Then I'm in agreement, whatever you said. Escape from L.A. wasn't as good.
It's aged like a fine wine, though, now, if you haven't seen it recently. Yeah, especially like the plastic surgery bit.
I can't remember it.
Bruce Campbell plays the plastic surgeon.
I can't. You know what? I can't.
He's the Surgeon General of LA or whatever. Yeah.
But actually, that movie, I do believe that there was like a trans individual in it. So the movie
that too
now certainly is aging better, doesn't it?
Yeah, Pam Grier plays a trans character in it.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that.
They even pulled her voice down to register. Anyway, you were saying, Paul, I'm sorry.
Nothing. I'm fine. No, I mean, those are, we're bringing back Snake Plissken.
Well,
or gender bent Snake Plissken, as it were.
Yeah.
So those kinds of movies, those are the kinds of movies that I ask fellow Canadian filmmakers, how come our funders either we're not writing them or our funders don't encourage them? But those are the simplest kinds of movies, those escapist movies, Mad Max, the first one, for instance. None of those would have been impossible to make here in Canada, but it's just not highbrow enough. And
Canada would actually make a great location for a post-apocalyptic movie.
We have lots of great locations.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
for that stuff. And for whatever reason, no one wants to fund fun, escapist films without any messaging.
Well, as you say, it was not highbrow enough. I mean, we had the same kind of
I'm sure
kind of problem in Norway until basically God invented private investments, and then we started having fun movies, the ones that you actually see online, movies that end up on Netflix and stuff.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out what the hell they would call Snake Plissken as a woman. Would it be Slit Foreskin?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, it's the one-eyed snake. It's a big joke. I mean, let's be real.
Well, you could, of course, go with Frosk Plissken.
Oh, that would be awesome. Put her in the movie.
Yeah.
I am not here to be, ogled and...
I'd watch the hell out of like an Escape from New York reboot with Froskurin herself as Snake Plissken.
Escape from G4.
God, I'd watch the hell out of that.
I think that'd be funny.
That would be hilarious.
Slit Foreskin, played by Frosk.
SNL should make that parody, if nothing else.
I like making up fake names. They're fun,
isn't it? Though.
So one name I was thinking of for a spy, a super spy, Ramp Speed. Hi, my name is Ramp Speed. I thought that would be cool.
That's almost as good as Max Powers.
No, but yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
Well, that exists, but yeah,
that exists.
Yeah,
but Ramp Speed.
Simpsons,
I mean, I was passing a sign that said Ramp Speed, and I went, "Wow, that's a great name."
Well, it's where they got Max Headroom from.
Yes, I know. That's right.
Yeah.
And then the other name I thought of was Loop Conchata. Wow, that would be a neat name for someone. Loop.
That
Conchata.
is pretty good. That sounds like a villain from Zorro or something.
Yeah, something. That's right. He's a gambler. He's a gambler named Loop Conchata. Yeah. So I don't know. It's
He's
fun.
A master gambler.
And his sidekick: employees must wash hands, since we're naming some signs.
I just wrote something where the bad guy is Yig Kammerstrom.
That sounds like a very like almost German name.
Well, it's Swedish.
Swedish? Okay, close.
Yig.
Right.
Yig.
Yig?
With
Okay.
a J.
How do you spell that? J-I-G?
He just said with a J.
J-I-G.
J-I-G. Because you are really close to the Scandinavian word for I, as in like me, by saying that.
Ah.
You just have to change the writing.
I mean, well, happy to... That's the first draft. I thought Yig Kammerstrom.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a cool name.
The God Dictator of South Africa says, JJ has been placed on the gray list from what I've heard. Kurtzman joins Orsi on the blacklist. Number one wants to work with them. No one wants to work with them anymore. Not even Apple. Well, I mean, as far as I know, he's been milling around Apple. But Kurtzman's in a bit of... I've been hearing some rumblings that he's kind of in hot water. Not like boiling hot water, but Clarice was a big snafu of his. He fucked around all day with Star Trek, but he fucked up on Clarice, was from what we heard. And that's why Terry Matalas got to take over for Picard. And I'm kind of... Look, I'm not going to get involved in the whole Robert Meyer Burnett versus whoever thing with Picard, but going back, I kind of had a feeling we were going to kind of start hearing this, and I kind of noticed it when people were saying, Strange New Worlds ain't great, but it's not that bad, right? And I said, well, there's a reason for that, and that's because Kurtzman's been escorted out of the fucking room mostly.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, because Akiva Goldsman, that was his baby, Strange New Worlds was. Strange New Worlds is the show that Akiva Goldsman thought he signed up for.
Yeah.
And then Picard season 3, you actually had Terry Matalas come in, who actually worked on Star Trek before, didn't have Kurtzman breathing down his neck. Goldsman was busy fucking around with Strange New Worlds. So after season 2 wrapped, Matalas was free to do whatever he wanted on season 3. And basically, like Robert has said publicly so many times now, Terry got away with it all because CBS just didn't pay attention or give a shit. And Kurtzman wouldn't know the difference. So, like, that's kind of how I guess, and that's where I'm just curious with season 3 being like, all right, I can see it being on the same level as like a TNG movie.
There's a lot of at least in the trailers, there's a lot of pew 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 pew.
Yeah,
Well, according to him, they
fine.
even poke some fun at stuff that they couldn't erase season 1 and 2, but I guess they poke a lot of fun at some of that shit. And some of it's just kind of overlooked. So, like, yeah.
They're so comfortable together in the trailer. It'll be interesting to see whether it translates to the actual show.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see exactly what happens with that.
And then,
but let's move on with
we got
to Marvel.
Mr. Tickle Trunk says ESG and woke ideology are the continuation of the Black Panthers rhetoric, demographic battles, and equity, and Martin Luther King's dream equality. Not Martin Luther King's dream. Yes.
Yeah, but basically it's divisive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's. That's not to say that the Black Panthers are any kind of influence, but it's the divisive path that's taken here. Absolutely.
Yeah. Then we've got Pablo Papano. How you been? Haven't seen you in chat for a while.
Pablo.
Says Alpha Male challenges ESG. He says the Emperor has no clothes. Women are agreeable and support all ESG ideals naively. All these companies that are B Corps use slave labor to pollute. Yeah. Okay. So the Alpha Male challenges ESG. Yeah, to a point. He says the Emperor has no clothes. Yeah. Women are agreeable and support all ESG ideals naively. Well, a lot of women gain from ESG ideals. That's the thing. And they're already on an even keel with most men. That's the thing that they don't want you to realize. So that's where that part comes in. So I think some of the next people who are going to really good, there's a reason why there's a lot of white women that are being allies and putting up for this thing and being behind this, because they know they're going to probably be next in line if they didn't. Does that make sense, guys? Because most of the shit that men have done bad in history, a lot of it's been for women.
Shh.
I know. I'm not supposed to tell Paul. But
I think there might be more to it. But let's move on here.
There is, but there's some very significant things in history that have been at the behest of white women, let's say. Or white women got away with saying, I didn't, consent to that, let's say. Pinochet's Helicopter Tours says, ESG is communist control to shape social behavior using financial to pressure to dictate a message. Easier in Canada without freedom of choice. I don't know about the Canada part because I don't live there, but it may be Trudeau.
We're a nice country, and sometimes too nice. We have been taken advantage of. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. And there's no need to say anything else on that, so let's move on.
Yeah, as I said, I can't comment. Read by Nature's here and says they are out for game developers' blood. They want people's lives ruined, not achieve anything remotely positive. Well, yeah, that's usually when you ask, what is it you want? Because it's not an apology.
Yeah, no, that's what the brown shirts want. Like basically, they want to destroy you. They want to see you broken and homeless so they can point and laugh at you in the ditch. That's kind of like their dream. Like there's no hope for unity or redemption. That's not what cancel culture is about.
No.
That's not what those who are so ideologically opposed to a video game because it's based on Harry Potter of all things are about.
Yeah. And then we've got Chuck Henry, who's been a member for 4 months at the Midnighter level. Thank you so much. At JWT 6577, who's been a member for 3 months. Thank you so much. Sean Carter says, it's not even a matter of you can't win with wokesters. You can't even agree to disagree. That's another truth, Sean Carter. Absolutely. You can't even, because, look, I try to handle most people as politely as I can up front. I give them the benefit of the doubt. In fact, I had a bit of a row with somebody who really just kind of started acting like a wokester once weren't getting what they wanted. It's like, well, what do you want? I've already said I'm sorry that this was the situation. You know, what more do you need from me? I can't make it any better than that, right? Like, you know, and you're right. You can't even agree to disagree at some points.
I had a pretty nice discussion with a teacher in grade school discussing how they were going to remove the whiteness from math. And it was very civil, and I appreciated the civil discussion. We didn't change each other's minds, which it only disturbs me in the sense that I don't think that it has anything to do with teaching math. And I couldn't see the logic in it, but he was hell-bent on doing it.
What was the practical application of removing whiteness from math? Was that removing accuracy from it?
No.
Removing the difficult stuff?
No,
making it so that 2 + 2 can also be 5?
No. It's like math historically has been the tool of white people. And so there's a sociological component to it that if you read the paper that he gave to me, it was really just a make work project for a bunch of professors to add to word salad a ridiculous concept together. Yeah. And so they got funded for, why are male dogs Nazis?
Well, he's right. Black people never counted before.
Well, yeah, the paper is difficult.
And Asian people don't know how to math.
I couldn't get through it, but again, it's a question of bringing along people who traditionally have had a hard time with math, and he's saying why is that a bad thing? But he's backhandedly, referring to only one group, and that's problematic to me. And he was Asian, and I said, well, you do realize that you're lumped in with us white folk. And he didn't want to discuss that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's certain cultures that are when it's convenient.
Correct.
Inconvenient.
That's correct. But he was a nice guy, and he's one of the few people who have continued to engage. Everyone else is like block. That's it.
And that's probably the bigger thing, Paul, that bothers me is like, we can disagree about something, but you don't need to be a dickhole about it.
No. And he was good. And I very much appreciated the fact that he explained different things to me, even though I ended up disagreeing with the final premise.
My issue with that whole thing, and not to go down like some rabbit hole, because we do have other things to get to here quick. But like when you start changing a way that certain curriculum is being taught, it doesn't help students who are behind. It hurts students who are ahead. That's the problem you have here. Because I see some of this kind of started when I was in school, because they had this idea of trying to make things accessible to certain students. It's like, no, pull that student out and put them in either a lower math program or a special education program. Don't curtail everybody else's education just because one student can't keep up with the rest. That's not how this should work. And that's kind of what they're doing. They're stopping everything for one student when it's like, okay, and I mean, I know it's kind of a, generalized kind of explanation of it all, but it's across the board with all education. And it's another reason why, like, they've said now with the whole being shut down for so many years, these students, there's this X many years behind now, not just 1 year, but like multiple years behind now.
Yep.
And you compound that with all this crap that they've been shoving down our kids' throats. Like, I mean, that's the thing is I almost feel blessed that my son, being autistic, had to go to a special school, that they actually just kind of taught the basic core stuff there as much as they could to these kids, just to kind of, get them the standards they needed. It wasn't so much about the other stuff, because the other stuff that was going on in the regular schools at the time, I could start to see this crap. And that's why I was like, thank God he's in this school where they're actually just more worried about this kid learning how to do regular standard math, learning how to, do regular standard things, reading and writing and all that kind of stuff to get him through life, than all this other bullshit that will never do anything for him.
Part of the challenge too is that the school system fights desperately against biological realities. such as girls like people, boys like things.
But again, let's be careful with the biological realities, because
Sorry.
although we are all in agreement about them, that kind of hate speech will get the channel shut down.
Sorry, psychological. Can I say psychological?
I don't think you can say anything.
Okay, I'm stopping.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let's pick up this discussion when we're on Rumble.
You got me down. It's not my fault.
I know. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
It's not my fault. Don't blame me.
Tennille says, Tom's new avatar has a green background, but I thought he hated green. No, I don't hate green, but I know you're just joking. Then why did I make this super chat yellow? Yeah, I don't actually have anything to contribute today. Hi, guys. Well, thank you, Tennille. You did contribute, though. That's just it. You contributed to the hamster fund, which always needs fundage. It never stops running. We got the God King dictator of South Africa again, who says, Paul, where are my Canadian public domain Bond films?
Oh, as in financial bonds, because I've got 10%. No,
no, he's talking about obviously
the
character.
Well,
James
I mean, we could have had. There's nothing wrong. I mean, there's just so many tropes out there. We did have a Canadian zombie movie quite a while ago, and that was very, very funny. It was really good, and it was about a town, a small town in Ontario, where the zombies had been integrated into regular society, and they were running radio stations, and it's a fantastic, funny movie. I wish I could remember. One of the best Canadian films that I'd seen in a good long time, because it was just fun. Maybe someone in the chat can.
Well, what he's referring to?
Oh, and what's his name from Scotland was in it? The comedian. The big tall guy who was a folk singer, I think starting with C. My brain not working.
I was going to say Tiny Tim, but then you said
that's not Scotland.
He's from Scotland. Yeah,
not even close to Scotland.
No, you said folk singer. That's what Billy Connolly, is that
Billy
what you're
Connolly.
thinking of?
Yes,
oh,
Billy
okay.
Connolly is a zombie in this Canadian movie, and it's great.
Was the movie Fido? Tommy Reviews asks.
Oh, yes.
Sounds kind of like that might be it.
Yeah, I think that was.
But what they're talking about here is technically in Canada, James Bond is public domain.
Is it?
I don't know the exact. Yeah, I don't know the exact ins and outs of it. Too bad Script isn't here because he does know. But yeah, through some strange occurring of events back in the day, the character's public domain in just Canada. And I don't remember the exact reason for that. I don't know if Andre does offhand, but
not offhand, no.
Well, Winnie the Pooh is a Canadian character. Also, was a bear in our zoo in Winnipeg. That's where
loopholes in Canada, I guess, is the best we got out of the chat. But yeah, it's something to do with that effect. But I think the only reason they have never made it is I doubt that they want to even try to.
Yeah, I mean,
chance it.
You know what? That's actually a great title for the Canadian version of Looper. Call it Loopholes.
Oh, I hated that movie.
You did. I was gonna watch it. I've heard okay things about it.
It's an all right concept, but it's just full of Rian Johnson's pretentiousness.
I
didn't hate it the first time out, but I just didn't like it. And then after I started hating Rian Johnson, I'm like,
and I'm not an M. Night fan. I can't stomach his movies anymore.
It's a movie built on one little small moment in the film, really. And that's kind of the overall problem. And it's, there's probably a video in the whole idea of that movie kind of being like a litmus test for how bad things have gotten, because really the whole movie is predicated on one scene at the end. And it's like, otherwise the movie's a waste of fucking time. It could have been a better short film. That's the problem. Eclipse Warlord says they'll have Snake's daughter Clammy. Well, maybe that might work better than Slit.
Well, there's different kinds of snake names.
That's true.
Have been, Bonina Constrictor.
We'll keep trying. Tina Bowen has been here for 19 months. Thank you so much. Stian Monstad sends in a super sticker for 19 Norwegian krona. And it is a thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, please. And we got Pinochet's Helicopter Tours, who says there was a UN Secretary General killed by CIA named Dag Hammarskjöld. Paul, you were Midnight Edge was 2 years ago when I first mentioned ESG. Almost there. There you go.
Yeah.
But that's strange with the Dong Hammarskjöld thing. Or how do we say that?
Yeah, I remember him. Dag Hammarskjöld. I mean, he was the UN secretary. He was killed by a CIA operative?
Well, I think officially he's just no longer with us. He was like things got too difficult, and like Epstein, he decided it was too difficult. And then you have stories of what really happened.
Mario Trulio says, "Don't ever bend." I think he means ever bend to an SJW. They only want to break.
Yeah, this is like what we've been saying. Never apologize, because an apology is not an amends to move on. It's just an admission of guilt.
Well, there's a tendency that I noticed, and I can't remember, Gen X, Gen Y, whatever. I can't recall. I'm too old to remember. But I remember a very distinct change when our company started losing website work from existing clients. So what was happening was these companies, a reasonable size, were getting rid of their experienced marketing people that were expensive and replacing them with 24-year-old direct from marketing school graduates.
Nothing can go wrong with that.
Correct. You've guessed. You've nailed it already, Andre. So what would happen is that I would get called in, make the introduction, and then they would hire their friends, and we would lose this long-term client that we had for 5-10 years. And I talked with a friend of mine. I said, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm a fairly good salesperson. And he came back and said, this generation that came in at that time does not want jocular conversation. They only want to talk about themselves. So ask questions only about them. And the only people they think are funny and are allowed to be funny are their own personal circle of friends. So I went in, and the next time this situation happened, I used that technique, and from then on did not lose a single client.
Yeah, so basically you went in with wow, you're amazing. Tell me about yourself.
Yes.
How did you get to be this so amazing?
Yes.
Wow, you have to teach me. Well, now we just have to figure out how we best can serve you. You let us know what you want, and we'll do our best to do what you want, because you know best, because you're so special. That was the general sales pitch, right?
That was it. You nailed it.
I'd be a killer seller for you.
And so I'm just thinking that we are seeing the expansion of exactly that.
That's absolutely part of it. No doubt about that.
Yeah. Then we got a couple more super chats here, and then we'll get into the Ant-Man business.
Yeah,
or anti-man business, as I've been calling it lately. Seth sends in $4.99. Didn't say anything, but just sent in $4.99. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
here he says, I was going to say, people don't question that they sup at the altar of intelligence. If you're not smart, you have no value.
Yeah, always.
What they support is what it means.
I have no value.
Yeah, well, we're trying, Paul. Thurstic Versus says, don't try to get into anime. It's a medium, not a genre. Like Elric and Conan, try Berserk. Like the Northman, try Vinland Saga. Follow your genres. Oh, well, is this kind of an alternative to all the people? But no, there's a few things I will try, Thurstic.
And actually, just to say that, we will actually do that. We're going to have like a Midnight Edge anime event where those of you who are into anime will get to try to convince us what we are to check out first, and then we're going to do that live for you all. This is happening. I don't have a date yet, but it's coming, and it's coming soon. We're making an event out of it. Midnight Edge does anime. You're welcome to join too, Paul.
Oh, well, I love this stuff.
There you go.
Tom doesn't, so we need some moral support here. Neither do I, so we're all going to need that moral support. But we'll do it for our audience, and maybe we'll discover some new favorites.
Parrothead sends in $2 just to say Congo. Well, Congo to you. That's right. Maverick Christian says, re Hogwarts. Anyone else find it weird? There's such an animosity over the semantics of women. To me, it's like people from two different linguistic communities vilifying each other over differently defining the word tuna.
Well, that's because one of those two different linguistic communities decided to make changes to language and to definitions. And then you have the room for conflict right there.
But yes, I like this analogy to a point, though. It does kind of fit the situation for some things. I'm not going to get too deep into that again, like we were just talking about.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about it on YouTube. And then somebody did bring up in the chat, which is a very valid point. Like, if you guys can't talk about it, that means they already won. And I get your point. The thing is we just can't talk about it on this platform.
Actually, we're not going to push it yet, but actually we are in the process of moving over, but also having a presence on Rumble. That is something that we started today, just a few hours ago. So it's going to take a little while to port over videos. But there's going to be some exclusive Rumble videos and everything. So if you want to get a head start, just head on over to Rumble and find Midnight's Edge there and subscribe, because you can still be subscriber number. Let's see, number 1 spot is already taken, so that's too late. But you can, if you hurry, you can be Midnight's Edge subscriber number maybe 3, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. We're still single digit. So head on over to Rumble and join us there. Channel content coming soon.
And it's just mainly because they can pull us down, or they have a reason to pull us down. And basically, Andre's got kids to feed and clothe, and I got to eat too, and all that business. So yeah, we have other.
We likes to eat. So yeah.
Yeah, and a hamster to feed. So
yeah, exactly. That hamster's not going to run on its own.
Yeah. And I think that Andre replaces it every once in a while, but just doesn't tell me. I think I figured that out because the spot has changed sides a couple times.
Well, hamsters do that. I mean, there's spots they do sometimes.
You could just tell me, Andre, change. How many hamsters now have I had?
We're on the 4th generation.
Holy cripes. Pinochet's helicopter tour says Dag was found with the ace of spades in his collar. You guys have been talking about this in the chat. I'm not getting into this one.
The ace of spades.
Pinochet's helicopter tour says, anyone see Michael Bay's Songbird before Memory Hold? No, I don't think I did.
Michael Bay's Songbird? No, actually, that one is... I did not... I remember it coming. I did not get to check it out. But it would be interesting because the most interesting Michael Bay movies to me are the ones which are about smaller stories, which I imagine that Songbird would have to have been about. My favorite Michael Bay movies are The Island, which is a big movie, but it's not based on any IP. And I forgot the name of it right now. The one with Mark Wahlberg, the bodybuilder thing, with the kidnapping and everything based on a true story. Yeah, thank you, Pain and Gain. That was freaking awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah. When you said Mark Wahlberg, all I could think about was The Happening, though. What? No. All right. Speaking of happenings, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, his first reactions are out. So what are the folks saying about it? Well, Ant-Man...
you have to read the headline there, which is the summary of it. And the summary from IndieWire.
Frustrating start.
Yeah.
They're off to a frustrating start. Not exactly glowing.
Here, I think we have to remember that this movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, was originally supposed to be the end cap to Phase 4. Just as Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man, was to Phase 2. That was the cap to that. This was supposed to cap Phase 4. And then Phase 5 was supposed to begin with the next movie after that again. But then somehow At some point, they decided that Phase 4 was a loss, so now we are going to end that prematurely. And Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the beginning of Phase 5, and then they start like pushing the multiverse saga. And then Kevin Feige also said about Phase 4, for everyone wondering, what was the theme here? Well, that apparently was just introductions to meet our new Avengers team. So everyone, if you think the movie sucked in Phase 4, well, just look forward to the next Avengers. Because
Wait a
that's
minute
your
now.
team. That's who you're stuck with.
I saw somebody's reaction to this movie as it was the best film in Marvel Phase 5.
I did read that too.
Yeah.
I've read it already.
Some people are like, are you seriously? He's like, no, this dude's clearly joking. And then another one that I really loved was like, Paul Rudd is the best Paul Rudd ever has been. And every actor was the best they'd ever been. And this was the best Marvel movie in Phase 5. And it was, that's when you finally knew it was full of shit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it was like, but let's see what the actual critics are saying.
I would just say about all those parody tweets that have been making the rounds, I think they do a really, really good job at nailing the gist of the early reactions, the social media reactions from the very first critic screening. And let us all keep this in mind. The reactions that we are about to see right now is from yesterday's Hollywood premiere of the movie. And the only ones in attendance were the cast, the crew, and select critics. These are the critics that are quote-unquote access media. I'm sure that there are some legit ones there as well, but most of the people are handpicked to be there. And if history has taught us anything, is that the reviews for all such movies generally are through the roof, and then it's all downhill from there when the public gets to see the movie. So, with that established, let's now look into these reviews, which again are, or not reviews, but these reactions, which statistically are the best reactions the movie is ever going to get. Take it away, Tom.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed reaction here, as we'll see. Frosty over at Collider says Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp is a strong start. Start to Phase 5. I now understand why it's called Quantumania. Jonathan Majors is excellent as Kang, and cannot wait to see where this all goes. 2 after credit scenes, and both are very good. So no actual real. I mean, it's a basic thing from Steve.
Yeah. Again, it's a reaction, and I do seem to recall that Frosty from Collider, he tends to be a fan of all the MCU movies, no matter how bad the audience eventually finds them upon wide release.
Can't lose that access. Eric Davis is next here and says, Phase 5 has begun. The new Ant-Man movie is a psychedelic roller coaster full of frightening and hilarious oddities, plus one very menacing Kang. Big Star Wars vibes. Meet the MCU at its freakiest and most inventive. MODOK is a riot, and Jonathan Majors conquers loved the ride. Where's Bill Murray in this? Wasn't he supposed to be in this movie?
Was he?
Yeah, I thought so. Definitely make sure you stay for the credits because there are significant things to see. I really dug how Ant-Man and the Wasp is now part of one of Phase 5, but also self-contained Ant-Man story that is funny and sweet and features kick-ass Michelle Pfeiffer and good stuff. Well, this is funny because I wonder if the other review is on here that says that you can't view Ant-Man as a movie on its own, or even the third part of a trilogy, but as the beginning of a new Marvel phase or something like that.
Exactly. I was about to get into that. But before we move on, Paul, your thoughts on the reaction so far, if you were to assess just based on the couple of reactions we have seen, does this seem good, or do you see any red flags based on the reactions?
It's all red flags.
Let's elaborate on that. Let's do a few more of these reactions.
It's kind of damning with faint praise. It's not sounding good. It's not the trend is not good.
Yeah, no, it really isn't. Let's move on. What does Nora say, Tom?
Nora Dominic says that Jonathan Majors is a force in Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's compelling, chilling, and already giving a top-notch performance. I love the complexity he brings to Kang with literally a single look. MCU really won with this casting. Sounds like Nora just wants to jump his bones.
Well, they're talking about Kang an awful lot in almost all the preliminary reviews so far. So either they're pushing it way too hard, or everybody else is just that much worse.
That, or wait till the backlash when they say, "Oh, you have a black person as the bad guy."
Well, I've always had a problem with Quantumania in that I thought Ant-Man, all superheroes need to be brought down to human scale, just so we can start relating to them again. So notwithstanding that, Ant-Man, part of his fun is that he shrinks down and then, gets bigger and hits a real human being. And to stick them in the quantum realm, it, to me, is not interesting. It's just a lot of CG, I think. I mean,
it's funny you say that, because that's what I said yesterday on Mr. H, is that I didn't like the second film as much because it felt like there was no sense of scale. I was like, who gives a shit if he's Ant-Man or not? Because it's all in this Fugazi world. I said, at least in the first film, I will still stand by that as one of the best 3D films, not just Marvel 3D films, but the best 3D films ever, because of all the cool shit and the scale of it all, because, Scott's in the real world, stuff we actually know. So, when he's in that scene in the bathtub and all that kind of stuff, that stuff's really neat in 3D, and you're really into it, and it's fun, and you're really getting into it. By the time you get to the second one, you're just all in this kind of weird ethereal shit. And
superhero version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Exactly.
And it needed to stay that way. And this is what drives me nuts with Marvel, is that they go, here's the highway, this is the route, these are the exits, just stay on the goddamn map. They did
not just that.
Miss Marvel, the first episode, young girl finds out she has superpowers. She's in school. It's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but with, Pakistani cultural aspects. And that's their whole series. How hard is it to do it? Dear Lord.
Yeah. Well, not only that, the first film was just a simple heist film, right?
Well,
that's the other thing too, taking it down to a more human level. But yeah.
Sure. But a lot of Ant-Man comics were heist comics.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like the second film, you had the whole deal with
shrinking the house, the offices down.
Well, the ghost, what's her name? The bad guy, right? Is a sympathetic villain.
Yes.
And then, like I said, it kind of took us a little bit more out of the real world and into the quantum realm a little bit, and stuff like that. And it just kind of to me, it lost that flavor. And this is one of the reasons why the trailer didn't really do anything for me to begin with, beyond the whole thing. Like I said, then my reaction was, it looks like you're just going to get 3 women to replace one man.
I think part of the problem too is that the second movie was integral to the final Avengers movie.
Oh, to be
really
clear,
only the end credit scene.
Just the end credit scene. The end credit scene was the whole movie before that was completely missable.
I still
I get what Paul's saying to a point, like you had to set up the quantum realm or whatever for him to be stuck in.
Yes.
But outside of that, there's no reason that it had to be anything more than another Ant-Man film. It was not serving any purpose for Endgame, really. Like, that was my point I was trying to get to, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wish, the Marvel and the whole Disney crew would just remember what it's like to be doing Hollywood style movies. I would love something repetitive right now.
Well, and that's kind of where certain things from the last couple of years have been more refreshing, even if they've been. Look at Top Gun, for instance.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking movie as the first one, just mixed with Star Wars.
Yep.
Right? There's nothing that special. They didn't try and reinvent the wheel with that. But guess what? Top Gun 2 is a better movie than the first movie because it actually has a plot driving it. That's the difference. The first movie is just a bunch of events happen until finally they have to fight. Like, that's kind of what the first movie is. Second movie, you actually have a plot driving it. The Sumerian was a movie I loved last year with Sylvester Stallone. Guess what? It felt like a 90s throwback film. You could see the twist coming from a mile away, but it didn't stop my enjoyment of the film.
I actually didn't. That twist got me. I've said it before. The only thing I didn't like about it was it would be impossible to survive in that kind of heat and fire.
Yeah, I mean, if you start asking the scientific questions at the end
It
there,
was
I
just
get what
too
you're
much.
saying, but
It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
it didn't. If they had just cut that down, I would have been fine, because I do love that cheesy stuff. I mean, I'm an A-Team guy. I
Right.
love that stuff.
But no, like, so like in that respect, and another one I recently watched that wasn't a great film, but it was just a safe film, I would call it, and that was The Old Way with Nicolas Cage. It was basically just Unforgiven, really, all over again, mixed with John Wick in the Old West. That's all it really was. There was nothing that special about it, but it was fun. It was a fun 2 hours. I didn't have to, you know, go through this whole business of making sure I've seen Loki and Ant-Man 2 and Endgame and 100 other Marvel things to have to sit through this thing. And that's the other thing I'm wondering about too, that's kind of preventing me from committing to go see this movie this week, because we were talking about this before the show, is like, honestly, I only watched the first episode of Loki and bits of the last episode. I didn't watch the rest of it. So am I going to be lost here since I didn't see that?
No, you're not going to be. I can
I
tell you
doubt
that
it
right
too,
away.
but I don't think
Everything
that
is
I
going to
will.
be
But
explained from scratch here, and I think that because we don't actually see, like Jonathan Major's character Kang here, he is technically not the same character as we saw in Loki. The one that we saw in Loki was the benevolent dictator Kang. And spoilers for Loki, what happens towards the end of Loki is that we learn that the benevolent Kang is the dictator who has made sure that up until that point there has been no multiverse. It's been a peaceful multiverse because it's just been the one universe that led to that Kang. And he has eradicated all of the others by way of like the Temporal Adjustment Bureau or whatever the hell that thing was called. That Loki interacts with, and then but then female Loki ends up killing him, and the moment she does that, then the multiverse springs into existence, and then you have the war between Kangs of the multiverse. That's where we are right now. So no, you don't need to see that. I would imagine that the only thing you're going to get right here is that there's a multiverse, and the multiverses are fighting against each others, and the ones that are fighting are the Kangs of the various universes who fight for dominance over each other, and
yeah.
that'll be explained there. And Loki is just going to be like a fun story of how we got to that point and little else.
And then we got Sean Keen here, who says the movie has way too much going on. It's tough to connect emotionally to any of it. That's not a good thing. Jonathan Majors Kang is charismatic, intense baddie, and visually awesome, but the threat he represents is too abstract. So here we're starting to get to the more...
Yeah.
So this one actually is getting a little bit more into what the story kind of... Not so much the story per se, but like his reaction to it, let's say. And it doesn't sound like he connected to the movie very well. So there's one already. Then we got Mike Ryan, who says Ant-Man and the Wasp is trying to imagine a Marvel novice. Trying to imagine a Marvel novice, one ticket, please, then getting 2 hours of variant and multiverse talk. Oh, this is what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors is great as Kang, and for a good portion of the movie, Michelle Pfeiffer is the main character.
You were right,
which
Tom.
is awesome.
That's exactly what you said. Yeah, it's awesome that Ant-Man is sidelined.
Well, I mean, I love Michelle Pfeiffer just as much as the next person, but this is the one that surprised the piss out of me. Scott Mendelson, who has me blocked still, says, my son changed his mind at the last minute and skipped seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp. He sadly had the right idea. Oh, that is about as damning as you can get from Scott Mendelson.
Here again, we're going back to something I brought up earlier, that why can't Ant-Man be the hero of a movie? Because this is the secret conversation that Andre's going to have on Rumble.
Yeah, because he's a problematic white male.
There you go.
Yeah, and speaking of Rumble, we are now up to 42 subscribers. So for those that came in late, Midnight's Edge is now on Rumble. We don't have any content there yet. That is coming. We established a channel just a few hours ago. It's in the process of porting over videos from YouTube, but there's going to be some Rumble exclusives.
They did approach me. My entire channel is on Odyssey, but I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so Midnight's Edge is also on Odyssey, and it'll continue to be there. But I think that Rumble is one we'll be actually making exclusive videos for.
And you don't think YouTube goes after creators who go on Odyssey and Rumble, and suddenly their numbers go down magically?
I'm not
I
saying
don't.
that's a problem, but yeah.
Well, if so, we would have seen it already because there's
might be.
plenty YouTubers already on Odyssey and Rumble.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
we're already being kept down
by the man. Ooh.
Yeah. BD is Brandon Davis and says Ant-Man and the Wasp is by far Marvel's weirdest, zaniest movie to date. Jonathan Majors stands out strongly. King elevates the whole film. Majors and Paul Rudd are intense together. Loads of CGI. Oh, that doesn't sell well for me. Crazy new characters.
Camping?
And an exciting trajectory for MCU.
Why would they be intense? Like,
That's
unless
true.
they went camping together.
Oh. Courtney Howard says, after a frustratingly rough Act 1, the movie finally gets going, only to end where this story should have began.
Oh.
While the external stakes are clear and weighty, emotional drive felt slight and levity even lighter. That said, Jonathan Majors rules. Well, it sounds like those reshoots didn't fucking help.
So
I think that yeah, Paul, I want to hear all the red the red flags that you pick up here afterwards. But I just want to see right away that I think we're seeing a talking point that has been issued. Like someone must have said, "Oh, by the way, everyone, make sure to say how awesome Jonathan Majors is." This recurring thing right here, that like in every single one we've seen, almost at least, this is a recurring one. Now, is this really a Heath Ledger Joker-like performance? Or is this a talking point that someone kind of like let it be known that we would not mind seeing that out there? We have seen this in previous such early reactions. Some early talking points of narratives that the studio desperately wants out there.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
It really smells like that, doesn't it? I mean, from the trailer, Jonathan didn't rip up the screen for me.
But Paul, I know we only have you for a very limited time. So real quick, what red flags do you see in all of these early reactions? And remember, these are from select audiences which were invited to come. So this is as good as it's going to get. Which red flags do you see here?
So there's a few things. Well, number one, they're muted. Okay. Number two is that I think I sense a change. There's a wind change in the direction where the crappy movies that Marvel put out before, like the Eternals, they got much better initial rave up reviews from the standard fart catchers out there. And so I'm sensing that even the regular mainstream writers, these hacks, and what do they call them? Shills. People like calling them shills. They're now keeping their cards closer to their vest now than before. Because even, like I said, when the Eternals came out, it was being praised way more, partly because of the multi-ethnic and sexually diverse cast that they had. That's what they concentrated on. So you always want to see, you always check to see what they zero in on as their favorite thing to discuss. Movie reviews are a lot like reading Pravda. My parents, when they escaped from Hungary, said the way you read Pravda, which they got in Hungary, was the truth was at the back and all the lies were at the front. And that's how you read the paper. And here we're getting, damned with faint praise And I don't think it's going to be doing the movie very much good. This isn't going to generate a lot of excitement. They're just trying to keep their jobs. That's what this sounds like.
Well, and I think there's two parts to this, Paul. And I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying this is where I think it's coming from. Because what you have is you've had a lot of these guys where they've been called out now by not just us, but we brought it up earlier. They're being mocked, right? They're being mocked on Twitter when people are like, it's the best Phase 5 movie ever and shit like that. I'm sure they're well aware of them being mocked. Look, I've been giving Scotty shit for years, and he just decided out of the blue, out of one of the least fucking harsh tweets I've ever sent to him, to block me on. So I think Andre and I have brought this up before, and I think that this is part of it, is that they are well aware now that people aren't taking them as seriously, right? Not that everybody ever took critics seriously to begin with, but now when they're being actively mocked all the time, that I think they're aware that—
I think you're right.
That they know that they can't keep giving these movies and shows this huge amount of praise the way they have been, because otherwise they're going to keep being called out for it. And the other half you have here, and this is just my speculation on this part, I wonder what Andre and you think about this, and that is just that this is one of the few films that was put together in the Chapek era, and we already kind of heard something to the effect that, you know, Iger's call for reshoots at the last minute were part of his trying to put a stamp on it, because, you know, so who's to say that they didn't necessarily push the media as hard this time around to give it such great reviews, because it is part of the quote-unquote Chapek era. I don't know if that plays into it at all.
Just to recap our earlier reporting on this, we did a video on this a few weeks back, but the gist of it is that the movie as originally made was quite a serious movie, a dark movie with a serious tone. And then Bob Iger came back into the fray. He's had a screening for him, and he saw, no, this movie is too different. It's too dark, it's too dramatic. It has Chapek's fingerprints all over it. We need to dumb it down, make it more MCU, add in some more humor and stuff like that, get rid of some of the drama and seriousness. And I don't see any reference to like any drama or anything like that. I mean, we even heard that the movie had been made worse, objectively worse, in the reshoots that were aimed at marbling it up.
Yeah, we even heard that the director was kind of upset about this whole thing too.
Yeah, and also, but of course he's too pro to talk about it in the movie. It's like fine, but yeah. And also on the note of critics, remember the Rings of Power for a moment. One thing that I noticed in the reviews for there, or for that, the early ones, there were so many hedges, so many opportunities to go back and say, well, this turned out to suck, and we said so. And lo and behold, so many did. After it was out, and it was clear the audience at wild scale rejected it, so many publications, I did several videos on it, came out and they said, yeah, now that it's over, let's admit it, it sucked. And then so many also just chimed in and said, as we said in our earlier review, and it was just the things that I had pointed out, that I noticed those hedges. So they did a glowing review upon release, just to retain access, I guess, and then to retain credibility with their readers through it came out later.
Yeah.
So lots of hedging. I mean, we can just see it that this is not smelling good.
No, it isn't.
So yeah, Paul, so your final thoughts on this and anything to plug on your way out?
You know what? Personally, I actually feel badly. I did say in a previous video that the worse things get for Marvel, the worse it actually gets for Gunn. And you know, the best gift DC could get right now is if Feige got his act together and created a succession of hits, which would then make it more palatable and more exciting and more enticing for us to go see what Gunn is creating. This is not helping the genre at all.
Nope, it's not.
Yeah.
You are entirely right. I mean, the thing with comic book movies is that a rising tide floats all boats.
There you go.
When one does good, that increases interest in all the others. But the same is true with the opposite. I mean, just look at Batman and Robin. That movie killed the comic book genre for years.
Yep.
And now it's been completely dominant. But for more than a decade, or at least for a decade, it's been completely dominant because of Marvel.
Well, and really,
Now,
I mean,
ironically, well, no, not just because of Marvel. You also have like the Dark Knight and stuff.
Well, I was going to say DC didn't help its own case.
Yeah.
But you know, even the whole Batman and Robin thing, because that was only that was just more or less just a punch to the gut. Because you had Blade and some other things come out in that era, and really, arguably, it was Spider-Man and X-Men that just brought it back. Not even a couple of years after that, right? Like 1999 was when X-Men came out, and that was only 2-3 years after Batman and Robin. So, but I get what you're saying, though, Andre. I'm not arguing your point, but yeah, we're getting to that point again where it's gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy of the whole like superhero fatigue, right? Basically,
yeah, and it was completely avoidable.
I think it's bad movie fatigue.
Exactly, that's what it really is. It's bad comedy.
Well, and that's what we've all been saying for this whole time is like, you can, you know, when some people are like, well, you can't release that many Star Wars or Marvel movies or DC movies in a series. Yeah, you can, as long as they're good. Like, and you can even afford to have 1 or 2 stinkers then, but it's just a matter of you got to get that quality up there. And we brought this point up with the whole quantity over quality aspect of Phase 4. That was their big problem, really, aside from the woke problem and the MCU problem of it all, was the fact that, and I wish I had that graph still that I had where it showed basically if you combine Phase 1, 2, and 3, that's the amount of stuff we got just in Phase 4 alone. So like that just goes to show us that we've gotten quantity over quality with this phase, regardless of how you want to, what you know, reason you want to put to it. And that's a problem, if you ask me. It sounds like they need to draw back a little bit and kind of reestablish where they're at and kind of reset their footing. And that's not going to happen. The Marvel train is so far down the track now, it's fucked.
Well, it still can be, but the problem is Phase 4 was a bust. And by all indications, so is the rest of Phase 5 going to be.
It's not looking good.
Yeah, outside of any possible highlights like Guardians 3 and maybe Spider-Man 4, I have no hope.
Of course, this is like a giant opportunity in addition to a giant threat to James Gunn, as you said, because as it is right now, it's on him to save not just DC, but the entirety of the comic book genre. He has to do what Marvel did in Phase 1 and Phase 2, that build-up. He has to be successful in it. Otherwise, like, the whole genre goes into, I'm not going to say obscurity, but it's not going to be like the dominant thing that it has been the past decade. That's for certain.
I think it'll be really funny if The Flash just turns out to be a monster hit.
It's funny because it has that chance, but I see it doing maybe 800 million.
I'm just throwing.
No, I know what you're saying though.
And Ant-Man was never going to be $1 billion movie because it's just never thought in those terms. It's always like been a good movie, and the first one to me was almost up there with Iron Man 1, just from an enjoyment perspective. Anyways, it's too bad. It's just too bad that they don't know how to handle the franchise.
Well, I think it's too bad that they let ideology get in the way, because they have proven before, all of them, that they do know how to do it. But something is preventing them from doing what they know works.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody left that does, though. Who's left other than Favreau?
Yeah, and I don't think he's coming back to Marvel at all. Not after the shit they have had to do. I mean, just outside of, I mean, he'll act for him, but he won't do nothing else, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not after his experience with Iron Man 2. And he was the first one to kind of have that experience, right? Of Marvel coming in and taking away his movie and just doing what they were going to do with it. So, yeah. But anyway, before we get into any more of these reactions, let's let you go, Paul.
Okay.
Because you said you had to get running. So,
I do.
Anything coming up you have on the docket you want to plug or anything like
Well,
that? I saw you dropped a video just before the show here.
Yeah, I dropped a fun little sketch about auditioning in front of a bunch of woke people and how you get through that. It's pretty scathing, fun. I sort of went along the edge there. I was concerned, but people's reaction has been great. So please watch my latest video.
Can't wait to check it out.
Totally appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe if you're part of the 60% of the people who watch and haven't subscribed, which we're all in that same boat. What was really funny was I think you guys know it already. I put together a video just about begging. Like I didn't even, because I don't put it into my videos. So I went completely in the opposite direction and did a video to beg for subscribers, and it was fantastic. It worked extremely well. And people's comments are hilarious. I very much enjoying doing that.
Only you could get away with that,
YouTube.
though.
I like making fun of the mechanics of the universe that we're existing in. To me, that's the most fun, is not taking this stuff for granted. So anyways, hopefully I can be acute enough to continue commenting on our zeitgeist in a funny way. So watch the latest video. It's fun.
Like I said, only you could get away with something like that. So,
because I'm charming.
That's true.
There you go.
But with that, do check out Paul's channel and let's get him over 100K.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
We can't with your help to celebrate it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Take care, Paul. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right. So with that, let's grab a few super chats and then we'll get back to some more reactions. Tennille says, how do you argue with someone that refuses to be wrong? At that point, you're just arguing with a child. If that happens, I think it's reasonable to simply ignore them. They're beneath adult discourse.
Correct.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, that's...
some people just can't be brought over, and then there's no point in wasting your time. Their minds have been made up, and there's nothing you can do to change it, so leave them alone.
This actually sums up the conversation I had, or argument or disagreement, whatever you want to call it, I had the other day with someone that's very poignant. Mecca J says...
plenty of discussions like that, so yeah. Well, anyway, carry on.
Yeah, Mecca J says, you think that the Hogwarts legacy controversy will finally make more people call out and reject this woke nonsense? I think it's a good step in the right direction. These things, the more these things happen... I mean, here's the thing about this whole Hogwarts thing. I'm willing to bet 80 to 90% of the people who are buying and playing this game have no friggin' clue about any of this controversy and don't give a shit. Don't know what a turf is, don't give a crap about any of this other stuff. They're just not attuned to any of this stuff. We know about it because we follow it in our circles. But most people outside of the hardcore gaming community and nerds like us don't give a shit about any of this stuff. And I mean, I brought up, most of them might not even know who J.K. Rowling is. Well, yeah, I'm sure most of them do if they're into the books and stuff. But most people who have become Harry Potter fans through the movies and haven't gone back to the books still may not even know who J.K. Rowling is. And even if they did know the name, they may not even know it's a she. Like, that's the whole thing, is like, I've said before, some people still think that that Steven Spielberg directed Star Wars for some reason, because they don't care. They don't follow that stuff. You know, I've talked to some people about the stuff we talk about here, and it's like talking to, you know, a brick wall, because they have no idea who most of these people are. So, like, they'll come up to you and they'll ask you, what's the deal? Why did this movie suck? And I'll try to give them an explanation like we talk about here on the stream. And they're just like, who? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, kind of shit. So, like, that's most normie people. I don't know if you understand what I'm getting at, Andre, or have anything to add or subtract.
No, I get what you're saying. I have a slightly different perspective. To go back to the original question from Mecca J, I don't think that this is going to make normal people call out anything. What I do think is that it is going to make more people wake up. I think it's going to lead to more quiet awareness of the activism, what it's for, because again, now it's going against Harry Potter and it's going against J.K. Rowling, who, according to and most people that, like, for instance, if you read the news in the UK, anyone that's read The Sun, the Daily Mail, something like, they're going to pick up on Harry Potter was written by J.K. Rowling. I like J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling is vilified for something. Now this game is vilified for something. And if someone then goes into that rabbit hole, and that's a very, very shallow rabbit hole, this does not require much information. Many people are going to be like, what the hell is this? I think that, yeah, it's not going to cause any major backlash or something like that, but it will spread awareness. That I do think. And that's my answer to that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I kind of said that at the beginning, but I said as far as like a major broad thing, I don't know.
No, that's not.
Yeah, that was my whole point. Yeah. Because like I had some people like my dad or whatever it was when the whole Gina Carano thing went down. He did mention something like, "Well, what's this thing with this chick on Star Wars? What happened with her?" or something like that. Like once in a while things like that would come up. But that was my whole point. Is as far as the grand scheme of things, most people, especially in a Harry Potter, I mean, they're into Harry Potter. They're not into other shit probably so much that, they're really following other things. So who knows? But anyway, we'll see how this rolls with the game sales. And it sounds like it's selling pretty good. So
I think that this is going to be the best selling game of the year.
Might be. If that's the case.
If not the most, then certainly up there.
Well, I was just going to say, if it just happens to be the biggest game of the year and there's nothing else that comes out this year that really can compete with it, But otherwise, if it hits the top of the chart, stays there, and nothing else beats it this year, and there's a few other games that could have been competition for it, let's say, theoretically, that I will come back around to this conversation and say, yes, it did actually have an effect on it. It actually made more people buy the game out of spite, probably, because unless something big comes out this year, then it's like whatever. But you know what I'm saying?
I think that spite buying is going to add a few percentage to the overall game sales. I mean, I said earlier, even I, that don't even have any console to play it on, considering getting it just to spite the people, the brown shirts who are so against it.
Yeah,
I think there's more people. I think that there's absolutely a case of the Streisand effect here. For most people, no. But I have to believe that there are some that will be pushed into getting this that had no intention of it otherwise.
Well, and as Mr. Tickletrunk pointed out in the chat, it is on PC as well. So keep that in mind. You do have one of those. I know you don't believe in the PS5, but...
yeah. I do believe in my PC, but exactly. I've never been a PC gamer.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of it. But that's just because also... Bust. I use my PC for work, so it's I'm really kind of picky about what I do on here. It's actually technically Midnight's Edge's computer anyway, so that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't really mess around with it. And then there are 2 Midnight's Edges on Rumble, says David March. Oh, somebody might have went and started one otherwise. 2? Well,
okay, yeah, that's why we're not pushing it so much.
Somebody else probably tried to start.
Yeah, that's probably it's just like some. Probably just something in the process of the porting or something here. Should just be one.
If not, maybe. We'll look into it though, and thanks for letting us know that. But I think
it's in progress. It's in progress, but it should.
Yeah, 6 is. We just shared it here, and I think 6 and the rest are sharing it too. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, I don't know much about it. This is the first I'm really hearing about it from Andre. So
yeah, no, I think it's like one is the profile and the other is the channel or something like that. It's still being. That's why we're not doing a huge push on it. It's coming.
Yeah, and I don't think I've set up a Midnight's Edge After Dark there yet, so you couldn't be getting confused with that. So anyway, let's get this super chat and then let's move back into the reactions.
For those that wonder, it's the one that says Midnight's Edge in 2 words and with the apostrophe after between the midnight and the S. That's the one you want to follow.
Yeah, you
whereas
may have
the
to...
other one. Yeah, whereas the other one, that's kind of like the overall profile, and the other is a channel under that. It's still in the process of being set up. It's not going to be wonky until it's finished being set up.
All right, well, until Andre takes care of all that, we'll leave it at that. Haitian Falarudo says, can we have a sympathetic villain this time? Obviously in sarcasm, considering that's all we've gotten out of Marvel. Yeah, it sounds like that's probably going to be the case too. That's probably another reason why they're being so nice to him too. But actually, that was the last of the reactions. Oh, that was kind of a good place to stop, I guess. So yeah, it doesn't sound like Ant-Man is necessarily burning up the charts with the critics, Andre.
No, it doesn't. I would say that this is, if anything, a pretty tepid response, considering that these, again, are the selected responses. And what I see here is a talking point that Jonathan Majors is amazing, and maybe he is. Maybe he is truly delivering a Heath Ledger-level performance. But still, the similar wording leads me to speculate that this is probably more talking point than reflective of reality.
Yeah. Then we've got Christian Delorme, who's been a member for 5 months. Thank you so much, Christian. Then we got Christian Delorme again, who says, "Hey, Andre, Canadian moose have more meat."
Yeah, but ours have a silver lining.
I'm not getting in the middle of that fight. Pinochet's helicopter tourist says, "I believe more writers will court the Velma route." Well, I don't know. I get what you're saying here, but what do you think, Andre?
No, I don't think so. Because there's only going to be so many positions available for the Velma-like writers. Because now we are in a position where more and more networks and providers, they need to make money. And things like Velma, they don't make any money. So they're still going to have like some pure virtue signal projects, all of them. But they're not going to have so many that's going to require all the writers in Hollywood. That's going to require some few writers. But for everyone else who can't get those gigs, they're going to be better off actually being able to generate the studio money. If you're not part of like the select 30 that gets to work on the Velma-like projects. So no, I don't think that more writers will court it. Well, they will court it, but most will fail. Because I think that's the kind of thing that for every 1,000 applicants, there's one position. Because there's going to be fewer and fewer ultra woke productions.
Well, we got to remember also that the Velma project is kind of I don't want to call it an anomaly because it is a lot of what they were doing, but it's like a situation where Mindy Kaling is the main driving force behind it. And again, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but from what I was told is that, yeah, it didn't necessarily start out as a Scooby-Doo project. It was a Mindy project, but they attached Scooby-Doo to it because otherwise they didn't think anybody'd have any fucking interest in it. So, considering the backlash it's gotten and everything that's going on around it, and, you know, we've joked about how it's the show that's too woke for woke people, I think it's going to become one of those unspoken things in Hollywood and those circles that, you know, that's going to be kind of one of the breaking points for even the woke folk, that they can't go down that road again, or they can't. I guarantee you season 2 is not going to be that bad in that respect. I could be wrong, but I don't see them doubling down on it. In fact, I see them getting a few notes on cutting back on some of this shit.
Could be.
Yeah. So with that, let's move along.
Yeah, let's do that.
Mecha J says, "Do you think Anti-Man is going, or how much do you think Anti-Man 3 is going to make?" Well, I already said my guess.
Well, let's hear your speculation again and exactly why you think so.
I'll be surprised if it makes more than 600 or 700 million, because the first movie only made 500 some million, second only made 600 some million, and that was right in between the hype of Endgame. You've had all the movies falling off a cliff the last year. The only thing I see that this movie has going for it is the cast, and frankly, I'm not so sure that's enough to sell it. I'll be surprised if it settles anywhere between 500 and 600 million, the height being 800 tops. But I think it's going to be about 550 to 600 million. I think it's going to be its final bow.
I think that sounds plausible. I'm thinking somewhere between 700 and 800 million. That certainly is the roof. I just want to check for fun how much the previous movie made. Remember, the previous movie...
677, I looked it up.
All right, yeah. Well, then this is...
That might have been domestically, though. Let me see the difference here.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm kind of going on domestic around here. Let me see.
I don't think it's
Ant-Man.
gonna make any more than that.
Box office worldwide. No, it said 620. Oh, that's US dollars. Here we go. Blah blah blah. Because I know it's these are in the lower end. Yeah, that's worldwide. So yeah, I'd be surprised if it hits the 800 million. Because that would be an uptick for this franchise. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that would be a severe uptick.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I see it falling somewhere actually below the first two movies or right in the same region of.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Around 700 then. It's between 600 and 700.
Yep. And 6 is saying $1 billion. Really? You're considering Doctor Strange couldn't do that? 6? That's
Or Thor?
Right after, yeah, or Thor right after Spider-Man No Way Home.
Or Black Panther?
Yeah, and Black Panther, no less. Which, that's the thing. Let's real quick address that. That's something that nobody's really addressing is, they're still pushing the shit out of Black Panther in my Disney Movie Club and all over Disney Plus and everything else. They got multiple different versions of it. It's on Blu-ray for the covers and everything like that. Because they got to make their money back on this bitch. I don't think they've actually made their money back yet. As much as they're trying to pretend this movie was a hit, if you especially compare it to the first film, like we talked about this last night, that movie was a huge disappointment.
Oh yeah, fell way short of expectations.
Way short. And the movie cost over $200 million to make. Once you add in the advertising and stuff, it had to break over $800 million just to break even. That's right where it's setting right now is in that $800 million range. So I'm not so sure that they're quite in the black yet on this one, but this was a big, huge disappointment. They're trying to pretend it wasn't, but this was a worse kick to the nuts than The Rise of Skywalker, if you think about it, Andre.
Yeah, kind of. But again, it's a data point. It's a data point that one would certainly hope that they would learn from. But
not Bob Iger.
But not with Bob Iger. No. He made that clear.
He'll blame us for that before anything.
Oh yeah.
But no, like we always talk about how the Star Wars films, they basically cut the audience in half. You're getting to the point now where Marvel has more than cut the audience in half. Like, if you go by the box office of these last 3 or 4 pictures, if you take Spider-Man out of the equation, they're only making about a third of what they should be. Because there's no reason that Black Panther 2 shouldn't have made $1.5 billion.
No, there really isn't. Under normal circumstances, that's what it should have made.
So yeah, I'm not trying to drag this out, but I think that's a very poignant point that not a lot of people are really discussing when it comes to Black Panther. I know Valiant, WDW Pro, and all those other guys have been really kind of trying to keep it real with the numbers compared to some other folks when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting how nobody's talked about how much of a disappointment that movie was. David March says, save the Chapek cut. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the more darker cut.
I would like to see that. We never will.
No.
But, I'd be very happy to see that.
Then again, never say never, Andre, because this is one of those situations where the movie was so close. The reshoots were so close to the movie being released that maybe, just maybe, we'll get like a leak at some point from like some effects house or something like that.
Well, it would have to be a leak because we will.
Exactly my point.
We will never see it.
You know what? It's even one of those things like with the Trevorrow script. Well, technically, you can kind of trace it back to either him or somebody directly related to him. It could be a situation where if this movie flops hard, let's say, okay, just going off our last conversation before the other one, let's just say for the sake of argument that this movie doesn't live up to the other first two, and it actually settles somewhere in the 400 range.
Oh wow, that would be Ragnarok for Marvel if that were to happen.
And that's where it's like, okay, all of a sudden now you have like a director and a few other people who are involved with the original version of this movie who are pissed now. That the chances of that movie getting leaked, the original version, go up astronomically at that point, is what I'm trying to say here. Now, I know Marvel is kept under lock and key, kind of like, it's really difficult for that shit to leak out, but lo and behold, things like the Hulk cut, the alternate cut of Hulk and stuff have leaked out over time, or in versions of them anyway. even though they may have been fan cuts in some aspects. But
no, actually, in the case of the Incredible Hulk, there's two. One is a fan edit, where a fan took the Blu-ray version of the movie and then took the DVD or the deleted scenes and put them into the movie where where this fan thought they would be. And this is actually 97% identical to Norton's alternate cut of that movie.
But that cut did eventually leak, right?
No, it has never leaked. No, it's never leaked to the public. Yeah. Some select individuals possess it, but it's not. Okay. It's not available. I was going to say
we've seen it.
I'm one of the individuals who happens to possess it, and I also know that no, it hasn't leaked. There's no forum where you can get it or something. It's just some individuals have it.
All right. Well, let's just say it made its way out there.
Yeah, but not. Kind of like the fan edit. If you know where to find it, you can find it. In this case, it's if you know one of these individuals, that's the only way to get it. It's never been available on torrents or anything.
Gotcha. Then we got Zephyr here who says, I spite bought the game. I don't think my laptop can play it, and it's not on the Steam Deck, so I don't think I can play it. I'll keep it for later. Whatever you got to do, I'm not going to buy it, but more power to those who want to support it just out of spite. Hey, that's what you want to do. Alyssa Marion's here, and he says, what was the Conan series? If none, please make something up. Or what news on the Conan series? If not,
okay, I can actually. I have spoken with Malmberg in the last few weeks here, actually, so I can give something of an update. Like, this is not like anything huge. It's not anything newsworthy or anything like that. But the update is that everything is still going great. Malmberg, the people at Funcom, and the call it showrunner who is working on this, they are all in agreement about what kind of series they're going to make. They won't accept any kind of interference from that plan. Everyone is in agreement that this is what we're doing. We're doing it. And they're just working, developing. I do not know exactly how long they are. They may be further along than anyone knows. What I have gotten is that official announcements will be made around the time when the Titan comic book appears. Now, that would be around May of this year. So around May, in 3-4 months from now, is when you can expect the next bout of official announcements. What exactly that is going to be, if it's going to be like a release time, is it going to be a casting announcement, that I don't know. But you will be hearing more in a few months. So all I can say so far, from what I understand, everything is going great. There's no like creative hurdles. Everyone involved are on the same page, and more information to come in conjunction with the Titan comic book.
Yep, and in that respect, all I can add to that or subtract at all is like I pointed out before, we learned about this pretty early on, and we're kind of getting a bird's eye view from the sky anyway, of how this is happening, the process. It takes time.
Yeah,
these things take a lot of time. But we have been getting updates, and yeah.
And I don't have any more updates from it right now, but that's the best it is. Then there's no bad news that I can see. Everything I get sounds really good.
And I can't remember if we got this already, but we're going to get it again anyway. Jesus Davila gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Jesus. Appreciate that. And I see from the mod chat, it was gifted to, let's see here, Smokin' Wraith. So congratulations on that. We appreciate that. And with that, we are caught up. So, yeah. Anything else we needed to address quick, Andre, before we scooch on out of here?
No, I just want to let everyone know that we're grateful for you stopping in, watching today. We're going to be on Rumble real soon. Still in the process of being set up, so just bear with us. And yeah, check back for more scripted content real soon.
Indeed. And with that, we'll see you hopefully later on 4K for you, and next time on Mead and Midnight's Edge in the morning, which we have a special guest coming on Friday morning. Do we not, Andre? Do we want to hold that off?
We do have a very special guest coming on Friday. We may be joined. We just may be joined by someone who likes his drinking. Put it that way.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's been a while, so I hope he makes it. And yeah, we hope to see all of you guys real soon. Take care of yourselves and each other. And it is time for what now, Andre?
Now it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.